Hello investors and welcome back to Just Randy Stocks. During this video I'm going to be covering part 2 of this series that I'm doing on Arcimoto. Part 1 for those of you that are new and this is your first time watching the video, I went through the company and its offerings. So before we get into the agenda items, I just want to add some color to the company, and you can't do that without going back in history to really understand where Mark came from and his transition from the gaming industry to sustainable transportation. So Mark graduated from UC Berkeley in 1996 with a degree in electrical engineering and computer science. After 11 years in the computer game industry and the sale of his first startup, Garage Games, Mark has turned his entrepreneurial spirit towards sustainable transportation. So what's the motivation from going from the gaming industry to sustainable transportation? I just believe honestly that he wanted to make a big impact on the environment. So he's scouring the internet at this point looking for inspiration, and he comes up with what is called Generation Zero in this April 6, 2012 TED Talks video. Dude, Where's My Car? If you have time to go watch that TED Talks video, it's really good. He talks about America's love affair with the automobile is fading, and he's drawing inspiration from this buggy car, which it looks like a pod, and he believes that eventually these could pick people up and drop them off remotely with using self-driving technology, ultra-efficient platforms, and a connected mobile application. So ultimately, we're talking about disruptive theory here. We're talking about a recreational vehicle transformed into a pod using this self-driving technology. In the TED Talks video, they used Google's technology as the example. I don't know if there will be a partnership with Google or if it'll be someone else. The previous video, I was a little skeptical until the CEO responded and said that this technology has been demonstrated. The self-driving technology with the ultra-efficient platform, which is the vehicle, and then the connected mobile application, I believe some version of this has been demonstrated to work and will have meaningful deployment. I believe their goal is, by his response, by 2024. If this is true, this could be huge. So what makes Arcimoto different than Electromechanical? I think their approach to scale, where Electromechanical went to China and Arcimoto stayed within the United States, and they just moved a short distance away from where they're currently located. So proximity. And now Electromechanical is trying to move down to Arizona where there's a large labor pool. So there may be some unintended original costs due to the tariffs and issues with China on shipping vehicles over here. Number two, I think Arcimoto's probably done more work to streamline their build to overall reduce the weight of the total vehicle and the number of parts to ensure that they have a higher long-range gross margin once they go into mass production. I also believe that Arcimoto wins in the fun factor for driving the vehicle. So let's take a quick look at the second quarter 2021 recent company highlights. And this first bullet, there is a correction made to the Q2 manufactured 85 vehicles instead of 74 that was corrected on August 17th. An 8K was filed with the SEC to make the correction. And I will tell you that some investors, if they don't feel like they can trust the numbers, they won't even touch a company. So just make sure that this is a one-off and isn't something that's repeated by the business. What else do we have here? We've got the Roadster, we've got the flatbed utility truck, we've got the driverless fun utility, we got a demonstration, we got the launch battery recycle program, which is good at showing that they're thinking about the total life cycle of the vehicle. Also, they're doing some test pilot program in Tennessee, and it looks like they're making announcements in Florida, Hawaii, Louisiana for reclassifying driving requirements, so that way this isn't a barrier. This is your opportunity to check your own thesis on the business to make sure that they are on track like they said they would be. And if they're off track, you can assume that there might be some buying opportunities in the share price. And is this a trend? Are they going to recover? What are they doing to correct it? For example, with Arcimoto, for example, they talked about battery issues and electronic issues or issues related to COVID, supply chain issues. Well, are they doing supplier scorecards? Are they scoring? There's hundreds of suppliers. So are they categorizing most critical suppliers? Are they doing dual source? Are they looking for another supplier? So if they have an issue with one that's critical, they've got a backup. Are they adjusting safety stock levels so that way they don't have to carry huge amounts of inventory when you're missing one component? The other components still come in and they're piling up. So you just want to hear things like this as solutions in the call. So there's one more thing that I really like about the earnings call. The way they have it set up, they've got 3 top level goals for 2021. Now I think there should be 4. The very first one, I think they need to have a little bit more detail around secure supply. So just to understand where the short float is located, you can find this on FinViz and you can see it's 31.37%. Anything over 20% is going to be pretty large. I also like to go to iBorrow to see the fee, the borrow fee. The higher the borrow fee, they're probably not going to want to hold on to this very long. The last thing I want to see is I want to see that there's some trading volume that's relatively high. Now the average trading volume for this stock is going to be 1.8 million, and you can see the volume's low. So no potential short squeeze, in my opinion, on this stock right now. Is there a potential that Arcimoto could be acquired by another company? And the way I look at this question is it valuable to another company? Did they do something that the other company could leverage to gain revenue if they did acquire them? Would it be seamless? Would they fit into their portfolio? And I believe Arrow potentially has the same use cases and could benefit from Arcimoto's platform. Financials for a business is on TIKR Terminal, and you can find the income statement, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement. You want to look at revenues, you want to look at gross margin, and for a company that's in this stage of the business, you know, the numbers aren't going to look that great because they're still growing. You want to check out inventory because of what was said in the calls, and you can see they've got the highest inventory levels quarter over quarter that they've had. You want to take a look at the cash flow statement and see, you know, what your net income and total depreciation amortization is. And just be familiar with these. About 13% in the last week, which isn't too bad considering market conditions. 52-week range of $4.68 and a high of $36.80. And let's take a look at what the analysts say on this one on Yahoo Finance. Now there's only 2 people that are rating it, and they have been consistently missing earnings each quarter, quarter over quarter. I think the last 3 or 4 quarters. There's been 2 downgrades. One's very old, one's not so old, and their current price is sitting a little bit below the low. The average price is $15.50 with a high of $19. So final thoughts on this one. I would keep this one on my watch list. I think it could go down a little bit lower, or even it could even dip after the next earnings, which I don't expect to be great. But once this company gets ramped up, I think they could do really well, especially if they commit to the promises of 2024 and have this remote element to it. Turo is about to go public probably by the end of this year. I would say November, December. And I could see a lot of people putting this vehicle on Turo, renting it out. That's all I have for this video. And remember, leadership team, secure supply. I'll see you guys in the next one.